I just got the 320 SR Wilson Combat extended slide release for the Sauer P320. I'm gonna put this in my P320 X5 Legion, actually out of necessity. As you can see on this side, I snapped my slide relief off. I'm pretty rough on stuff, and this piece failed on me. I got it caught on something and it bent it, and then I repaired it and tried to weld it back on, and it did not work. It just keeps breaking off. So I'm gonna put the extended slide release on, show you guys how to install it, and then my initial thoughts on it. So let's get started. First, you always want to check clear. I have an empty magazine in it. I was doing some dry fire training. Empty it. Visually confirm that it is empty. Alright, now let's do an initial breakdown. You cock it back, flip this lever down, slide forward, and your slide comes off. Then you have what you're going to replace here. So to do the rest of it, you just pop that out, that same lever that you just slide released off, it comes out, and then your entire trigger cartridge can be removed from that point. You just kind of grab it from the front and pull it out, and it all pops out. The slide release is actually pretty simple to do. This is kind of filthy. I'm gonna clean it right quick, and then I will come back to the video. Alright, next you have to take your trigger out. Pop this spring off. Release that, release tension off that. And then your trigger, oh, I actually have my trigger adjusted, so I'm gonna have to grab some Allen wrenches to adjust my trigger out. If you don't have an adjustable trigger, you probably won't have to do this step, but I have to back my take up adjustment all the way out so I can get my trigger far enough forward to remove it. So I'll back that out, then my trigger can come far enough forward and it simply comes off like that. Then you take that pin and you push that pin out, and then that comes out. Open up the new one here. So you want to make sure you get this back in. Small rubber stopper on a spring. That goes underneath your mag catch in that little hole, pointing, the rubber piece points up. You might be able to set it on where it was. There it is. I'm going to just set it there and then set this down on top of it. Alright. Now you take your pin that you pushed out, slide it back in, keeping pressure on that little spring so it doesn't fall out again. Alright, so that is in, that is installed. So we're going to do this one more time here. You take this and hold it with the leg pointing towards the back, hook it in there, take your trigger bar from the outside, you put it in there, and then it kind of rolls over and twists in. Missed it. Alright, and it kind of holds in place. That's actually in place where it's gonna go. Alright, so now you're at this point. You have your trigger bar actually wrapped around. It's sitting up on this ledge right next to this black bar. You don't want to make sure you don't get behind it because it'll cause problems. So keep a hold of that. It is under spring tension now. And take your trigger, slide your trigger in with it, and then make sure you find that hole, and your trigger should slide in. Once you have that in, you can depress your trigger and pop that into place. It'll just go right where it needs to go in between these two little rollers here. Then you can function check it, make sure your trigger moves that bar, and it'll have to move this little pin up here. Alright, so that is installed. Alright, and now you can drop your whole trigger cassette back into it. You drop the rear end first. It has to go in first. Depress your trigger a little bit and then slide it down into place. Then take your takedown lever. It goes on the left side of the gun. If you're looking down the gun, it's on the left side. I typically point it down or actually even back a little bit. Kind of wiggle it. There's a spring there that it has to get past. Takes a little bit of force. It pops in. Pop in the other side. Then you can roll it forward the rest of the way. Alright, once again function test that. Make sure that it rolls. It does. Make sure your trigger is under spring tension. It is. Alright, and then you can put your slide back on. Oh, this has to be pointing down to put your slide back on. Slide back on. Lock into place. Function test. Alright, and now you have a put back together pistol. Now you have your P320 put back together. My initial thoughts is that it's just barely larger than stock. It does come out just a little bit more. It kind of has a downward angle, which is kind of nice. I think it'll actually prevent, I don't know if you have the problem where when you're shooting your recoil, you actually end up riding the slide release. With the angle it's at, it might actually assist on that. I typically overlay my thumbs like this anyway to assist in that problem. But the way it's designed and the little angle that it has, it's kind of nice. Yeah, I think it's a little bit better than stock. I wouldn't say it's a huge difference, but it definitely gives you a little bit more of something to grab onto. Trying to just a little bit more something to grab onto, and it also has the downward angle. So it was empty. I checked empty. Yeah, pretty nice. I would recommend it, especially if you have a problem like I did, where you snap your slide release off. I think the Wilson Combat extended slide release for the P320 is a go. It's a pretty solid product, easy to install, and it functions. So we'll try it out at the range here and actually do some firing with it. Yeah, I think we're solid. Now I got to readjust my trigger and get it back to where it needs to go. But hope you enjoyed the video. Like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.